And greetings. Welcome to the Evidence and Reasons for the Christian Faith video channel. If you see some people in the background walking around my house, they are contractors that are helping me renovate the master bathroom. So I just wanted to. Oh, and Christian Carpenter is here. Yes. So the gentlemen here helping me are carpenters. You may see them walking in the background of the house, and I'm so pressed for time. I'm just trying to fit in this stream while I can fit it into my schedule. I want to point out Dr. Joel Duff is a brother in Christ. He is a theistic evolutionist. We are at extreme odds as far as evolutionary theory, but he's a brother in Christ. I was a theistic evolutionist and then became an old earth creationist and then a young earth creationist. So I hold out hope for Dr. Duff, and I also hold out hope for Dr. Dan, who's as far as I know, is not a professing Christian. So there are people that I like and people that I don't like. It says in the book of Proverbs, when the wicked perish, the people have shouts of gladness. They have shouts of joy. There are certain people on the internet. You could probably guess who, that if they kick the bucket, I'd probably be say good riddance. But there are people that on the other side of the creation evolution controversy I have respect for, and Dr. Joel is a brother in Christ. That we'll have our we'll certainly have our differences of opinion. And Dr. Dan is my opponent also, but he has treated me honorably and civilly. And let me just read some passages from history here, if I may share it. This was the account of Dr. Colonel Joshua Chamberlain. He eventually won the Congressional Medal of Honor in the Civil War battles for his bravery and gallantry in the Battle of Gettysburg. But before that, let me just read an account. Joshua Chamberlain, eventually General Chamberlain, was a Christian. So let me just read here. It said, this is a biographical account. In September 1862, Chamberlain and the other soldiers of the 20th Maine were stationed near Sharpsburg, Maryland. Site of the bloody Battle of Antietam, the 20th Maine was never ordered into battle, but the troops saw plenty of evidence of war's terrible toll. Chamberlain recalled that the sight of one dead Confederate soldier holding a Bible in his lifeless hands haunted him for the rest of his life. Quote, I saw him sitting there gently reclined against the tree. This boy of scarcely 16 summers, he stated. His cap had fallen to the ground on one side, his hand resting on his knee. It clasped a little testament opened at some familiar place. He wore the gray. He was my enemy, this boy. He was dead, the boy, my enemy, but I shall see him forever. Apologies for that obnoxious siren if you can hear it. I live near a fire station. It's just obnoxious. But all this to say, I'm expecting my brother, Dr. Joel, and I will see each other in heaven. But just like this battle between Christian brothers in the Civil War, it could be a shooting match, but after it's done, it's done. And let me see if I have a picture of, well, I don't. The thumbnail was of the Red Baron, and the Australians and the British and the other allies, the French, were fighting the Germans in World War I. I don't know all the names of the combatants, but when the Red Baron was shot down, there was a lot of chivalry there, and he didn't, if you respected your opponent and he fought clean, you didn't desecrate his body. You actually gave him an honorable burial, an honorable Christian burial. And it's kind of this strange thing that sometimes people in war, uh, there's almost a brotherhood even among the opponents, and I can't quite explain it. It happens. Um, we'll hear accounts of people that fought each other in the same battle. They meet each other after the war and they become friends. And when one of them passes away, they're in tears. It just happens. Now, I mean, that's not to say that they don't. You know, there are definitely some combatants that are despised, and I really, you know, I have a great deal of respect for Dr. Joel and Dr. Dan, and I certainly don't feel that way about some of my other opponents. You can tell that. Um, the passage in Proverbs that says, "When the wicked perish, the people will have shouts of joy." Yeah, that's probably not a very nice thing to say about me, but there'll probably be some people I'll just, when they kick the bucket, I'm just gonna say good riddance. But all this to say, if you're wondering the title, I will be honoring the work of Dr. Dan and Dr. Joel at my presentation at the Creation Research Society in maybe less than a week and a half. But first, let me give greetings to some of my people in the side chat. Dustin, much love, and Christian Carpenter, long time no see. So let me just show. Dr. Dan gave a lot of inspiration for my talk. He validated that I think I'll have a very good case about the protein orchard. But let me just share the video of him, and I'll play it, okay? I might play it, repeat it. I want you to, I think you might appreciate this. I'm intending to play this at the Creation Research Society. Give you a chance, yeah.
No, but you definitely, it seems like you represented my views very accurately, which is that there is definitely not one single common ancestor protein that every protein that we see is descended from. You have multiple independent things appearing at different times.
And that's an interesting, give you a chance, yeah.
No, but you definitely, it seems like you represented my views very accurately, which is that there is definitely not one single common ancestor protein that every protein that we see is descended from. You have multiple independent things appearing at different times.
And that's an interesting, give you a chance, yeah.
No, but you definitely, it seems like you represented my views very accurately, which is that there is definitely not one single common ancestor protein that every protein that we see is descended from. You have multiple independent things appearing at different times.
And that's an interesting, give you a chance, yeah.
No, but you definitely, it seems like you represented my views very accurately, which is that there is definitely not one single common ancestor protein that every protein that we see is descended from. You have multiple independent things appearing.
Okay, I replayed it just so you could hear Dr. Dan saying that there are multiple, he said multiple independent things, multiple independent lineages. There's not a single universal common ancestral protein. Okay, I do like to show the image in the thumbnail, by the way, because I did mention the Red Barron. I felt kind of bad I didn't show the, oh boy, sorry. I wanted to show the Red Barron here, see if I have a better, if I can get a better photo of. No, they're not any high resolution photos. Too bad. So let me just show it here. One moment. Sorry for a technical, I have a little technical glitch here. Do this. Share. I'm going to do a share screen. It takes a few button pushes. So I did mention, I'm sorry to have kind of a scatterbrain here. I did mention the Red Baron's funeral. This was the thumbnail, and that's a picture of the Australians. The Australian allies honoring their opponent who had fallen in battle. That's the Red Baron in the coffin. So anyway, I'm just trying to say, if you were shocked by the title about me honoring Dr. Dan and Dr. Joel in my creation research talk, I'm just honoring their work, and they actually have given me data points that are very important to understanding the creation evolution controversy. And also you could hear it for yourself. Dr. Dan said there's not one universal common ancestral protein from which all protein families descended from. And I think that's an important concession. The data will show that it is obvious. And I will argue that if you're going to have multiple independent lineages, and then given the complexity of these protein families, like say a homohexameric helicase or a dimeric, homodimeric topoisomerase, et cetera, and a homotetrameric potassium ion channel. These, these things cannot descend from a universal common ancestor as a matter of principle. So if you're an old Earth creationist, and I'm going to actually, there's starting to be some healing between old Earth creationist ID proponents and young Earth creationists, such as, kind of the president of the ICR, Randy Galuza, and members of the Discovery Institute are collaborating. And even though they'll disagree on the age of the Earth and maybe even the issue of common descent, there is unity in the difficulty of evolving complexity. And this is one example, the difficulty of evolving complexity. Even if we assume universal common ancestry, the difficulty of evolving complexity in the major protein families, it is so acute that even evolutionary biologists like Dr. Dan will say, well, they had to be independent lineages. And that raises the question, well, then how did these independent lineages emerge? I would argue that based on the complexity, there has to be a minimal complexity for some of these. And I'm going to argue a little bit more. I'm going to try to argue as forcefully as I can in 35 minutes. In my presentation, they said 35 minutes to present. You have 10 minutes of Q&A. And those are really tough constraints. I can be a little bit more, considerably more long-winded. I could be considerably more long-winded in the in my videos here. And tonight, I invited some people to come hear my rehearsal of the presentation. It's going to be kind of clunky. It usually is. And the more that I rehearse it, the better it ends up being. And we might have some discussion thereafter. There's a thumbnail that Dr. Joel will be, there is a diagram that Dr. Joel will be, that he created that I'm gonna share at the CRS, because I think it well describes things. Let me see if I can find it. I think I owe it to the audience to show what that diagram is. And again, if you see the workmen here, they're helping me remodel my master bathroom. there's just so many things to do. I'm in the middle of a renovation, and I have so many other projects. I'm also in the we're hoping and praying. I have a peer-reviewed paper under review, one I co-authored with some names you'll recognize, and we're hoping we're gonna get published. So this will be like my fourth peer-reviewed publication, fourth or fifth in secular peer review, and it will relate to indirectly to the creation of evolution controversy, but we have to be a little bit muted. You know, we can't just go out there and just say evolutionary theory is wrong and etc. But I think we can move the discussion forward. So I do have something. I do have something in the works, and there are actually more papers. So I am published. It's been gratifying to be able to publish in creationist venues as well as secular venues. So let me show Dr. Duff's diagram here. I want to give credit to him. This is actually Ken Ham's diagram that Dr. Joel Duff redid. So sorry about that. So the title of this is Ken Ham's post-flood diversification, really evolution. And so the idea of an orchard, the creationists say that there are multiple independent lineages of creatures, and it's not one universal tree. So the evolutionists will say there'll be one universal tree, diversifies, and then these make even more trees, whereas the creationists say there are multiple independent lineages or kinds. Now, it's easier to see the complication with proteins. It's much easier to see it because even Dr. Dan, so let me just stop sharing this. Even Dr. Dan had to acknowledge that for proteins, there had to be multiple independent lineages, not a universal tree. So this isn't quite what the young Earth creationists would want, where we could establish Barron or kinds for full organisms. But let's take what the evolutionists will give us. We can have multiple independent origins for proteins. For me, Paleologos is here. So let me just play this for you, Paleologos, so you can get what's going on. I'm just going to replay this because some people arrived late. And let me just replay this. I'll play it over a couple times.
That's an interesting chance, yeah.
No, but you definitely, it seems like you represented my views very accurately, which is that there is definitely not one single common ancestor protein that every protein that we see is descended from. You have multiple independent things appearing at different times.
And that's an interesting chance, yeah.
No, but you definitely, it seems like you represented my views very accurately, which is that there is definitely not one single common ancestor protein that every protein that we see is descended from. You have multiple independent things appearing at different times.
And that's an interesting chance, yeah.
No, but you definitely, it seems like you represented my views very accurately, which is that there is definitely not one single common ancestor protein that every protein that we see is descended from. You have multiple independent things.
Yeah.
Okay, I replayed it again. I just want to emphasize the point. The argument of what Dr. Dan is saying, I had the discussion. I said, this is important. We have now what is looking more, at least for the proteins, not necessarily the organisms, but for the proteins, emphatically, we can say that, let me share my screen again with Dr. Joel's diagram. It is more, just give it one moment, it's a little slow. It is more like an orchard. It is definitely an orchard. You heard Dr. Dan say that. So it's not an, I can't establish, at this point in time, scientifically, that we have an orchard for organisms, but we can say it for proteins. And in fact, the Eugene Koonin and others have said, her evolutionary biologists have said the same thing in different words. They'll use the word web of life because it doesn't look like an orchard. I mean, it doesn't look like a universal tree. It looks kind of not like that. So, oh, look who is here, speaking of which. Well, yes, we do have lots of origins of different protein families because novel genes readily arise de novo. And see, this is where Dr. Dan and I will disagree. But Dr. Dan, I'm gonna honor you at the Creation Research Society. I don't know if Dr. Jeanson and your opponents will be there. They're probably just gonna cringe when I show your face. But I will honor you, my friend, and I'll say we disagree on a lot of things. I will represent that you definitely don't share my views on the complexity and the difficulty of emerging proteins, but this is one point that we can agree on. So I will honor you at you and Dr. Joel at the Creation Research Society. So I hope you'll get a kick out of the fact that I will actually speak reverently and admirably of you at the Creation Research Society. I may never live that one down, but thank you for visiting, and thank you for being forthright. So what I will be saying is that Shnoil asked, Can the presentation be shown? No, they're not going to record it. So you're just going to see my rehearsals here, and I actually think it might be a little bit better when you get my rehearsals here. It's going to be essentially the same content. So, oh, by the way, for those who joined late, you're seeing workmen come here. They're renovating my master bath in the house. So anyway, that's mostly what all I had to say, and I'm hoping that Paleologos will show up tonight. I also invited Guzman and Bread of Life and Emery Moina to my first rehearsal. I'm going to have more rehearsals. Bread of Life said she can't come because she's tied up tonight. So let me now just I'm going to play the closing music, the closing credits, and I'll see you all later. I have a really busy day today, but Lord willing, I'll see you all tonight. It's been great, and look forward to seeing you all later. Take care, and God richly bless you.